but I just want you to think back about maybe an email that you've received in the last week or so, and it had a negative impact on you. How did that make you feel? Can you put it into one word? Did it make you sad or did it make you angry? Just stick it in the comment box for me. So think back to an email that you've received. Frustrated, yeah, frustrated, depressed, disheartening, demotivated. Right, stressful, irritated. Okay, so lots of different ones coming through there, but what I find really, really interesting is lots that are very, very similar. In fact, some are that are exactly the same. You know, we got some depressed, frustrated, disheartened, stressed, irritated. And I think that there is not one person in this meeting right now who would say, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to send an email to Dan because I want him to feel frustrated. That is what I want. Or I want Emily to feel irate, or I want her to feel angry. Like, no one is doing that. So I think what's interesting is that we have lots of feelings that are very similar across lots of people. Okay, and that for me was just a little bit of interest for that. And I think what we need to do is learn about how we look at that emotion, process that emotion, and then reply to emails to ensure that what we don't do is kind of tot up on each other. So once one email is sent that makes somebody feel disheartened, the likelihood is, unless they step back and think about it, they're going to send an email that either makes somebody else feel disheartened or angry or stressed. Okay, so we're going to look a little bit into that as well. Okay, now I want you to think back about an email that you received that made you feel good, so told you something positive. I want you to write a word that explains how you felt when you received that. Relieved, buzzing, amazing, motivated, worth it, I like that one. Pride. Yeah. Okay, some great things coming through, freed up. Some great things coming through, and some very, very similar, some very, very different. But again, respected, good one, Charlie. And I think that is quite interesting because, again, I don't think that anyone would ever send an email and think, oh, that's going to make somebody feel respected, or that's going to make somebody feel not respected, probably. So I think that's really good because hopefully some of you guys are getting them emails through. But the whole point of us trying to change our email culture is that, can we get more of them words and more of them feelings happening when we read emails than the first one that we said? And I think we can do that quite easily by just taking time and thinking about, what do I need? Because actually, if I'm chasing somebody for a deadline, so say, for example, I have emailed somebody to chase a deadline for a PDR. If I send an email that's going to make them feel disheartened, demotivated, frustrated, or depressed, the likelihood is that deadline is going to actually be longer to be achieved than if I actually changed the way I emailed and made them feel motivated, worth it, appreciated, and respected. They're more likely to actually do that deadline and complete that deadline for me. So it's a little bit like you are playing with emotions a bit, but actually it will have a positive effect on all parties. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we can do that. So, as I've said before, on average, 4.1 hours a day, that is a long time looking at emails and actually trying to dissect emotion within emails too. It's very draining. So when we're looking at emails, we need to look at some really, really small points and some clear points in order to structure them. So to write efficient emails, you first need to ask yourself, should this be an email? Should this be an email? Or can this be a Teams message? I know we're getting things set up so we've got more access to that. Could it be a phone call? Or do I have a meeting lined up with this person where this could fit into that meeting structure or fit into any other business? Okay, because as much as we would all love to, no one is sitting on the other end of their laptop or waiting for you to send that email. Everyone is busy and they've got things going on. So think about, is what I'm about to send, should it be an email? Should it be a message? Should it be a phone call? Or should it be part of a meeting that we already have booked in? That's the first thing you need to do. Then you need to look at, once you've decided that it is an email that you need to send, you need to look at, how can I ensure that my communication is concise and to a point where not only do I not waste someone's time, but I get the output from that email that I need? Because if you don't do that, all you'll end up with is an email trail. And the longer that email trail is, the harder that is to communicate exactly what you need in terms of the output of the information or communication that you need, the original sender, from that email. So is it concise? Is it to the point? And is it being sent to the people that need to know? So we're going to talk a little bit later on into what we do when we CC people into emails, but are you sending it to the people that need to know? Are you sending it to people that actually don't need to know, and therefore actually you're wasting their time? So making sure we're sending it to the right people. You have to remember that every single email that you send is a reflection of your professionalism. It's a reflection of your values and your attention to detail. Now, I will very often send emails on my phone when I'm running from job centre to job centre. There's only certain emails that I would do that with. There's certain ones where I know I need to be sat down, it needs to be set in the right setting, I need to be in the right mindset, it needs to be structured. So you need to think about, is the person receiving this email receiving it in the right way? And it's not about, unfortunately, and people will agree and disagree with this, but you need to send your email in a way in which the receiver can understand and make sense of it. If you're not sending it in that way and you're not getting the output that you wanted, it's as much your fault, if not more, than the receiver. So you need to think about what you're doing. And the only way you can do that is by building relationships with people. You can't just rely on just speaking to somebody over email, because things get missed. Okay, so you need to ensure that you know the outputs that you need, and it's very clear and concise, and it is a reflection on your professionalism how you send that. Okay, and you also want to try to imagine, and this is really easily said than done, and it sounds like a lot of things to think about before sending an email, but you should imagine, and Emma, Graham, I hope you don't mind me mentioning you, but I know the exact type of email that I will send to Emma to get an exact type of response. If I need a certain type of response to Emma, I know how to send that email, and that comes through time and building that relationship. And it's important that you guys have that communication with each other. And if you're receiving emails from someone that constantly makes you feel frustrated, makes you feel depressed, stressed, or whatever, it's your job to communicate with them, to tell them, Lisa, by the way, the last 4 emails you sent me, they just didn't make me feel great. Can we look at it? Like, this is how I really like to communicate. And then you can start to fix this problem, because often these problems are problems that are floated between the receiver and someone else, but not necessarily always the sender. So you need to communicate to the sender. If they're sending you emails that is making you feel stressed, communicate and tell them why, and then they can make some changes. But when you're sending emails, try to imagine how other people might interpret them. What is your tone like? And it's a very weird one to say over email, but there is a tone to an email. And is your tone friendly, polite, or is it more aggressive, and there's a difference between being concise and to the point and actually rude and angry and aggressive, and we need to look at what the difference is, and we will do as we go forward. But my ultimate message to anyone sending an email is, would you be happy to receive that email yourself? If you read that email, would you be happy to receive it? How would it make you feel? And often, and the proof is in the first question, often how you're feeling about receiving that email will be how other people are, because you all give me examples of how you felt when you received an email that didn't make you feel great, and you all said round about the same things. So often, if you just take that time to reflect, you'll find that if you read it and felt that way, others will read it and feel that way too.
Lisa, I think
questions.
Yeah, Lisa,
Yep.
I think going back to that very first point is quite poignant in terms of, does it need an email? Because I think we all, in the society that we live in nowadays, we all can probably say we're over relying on email. So, you know, if you've got an opportunity to communicate or speak to somebody face to face, it's just kind of reiterating what you said. Then yeah. I like talking to people, so I'll always try and choose that option anyway. But it's just to not be over reliant on email, where you can possibly communicate a message in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Steve. Okay, so what is also really important, and it can follow on to what Steve has just said there, is that you may feel that you need to get a lot of information across to somebody, and you know, we can't get away from that. It's a business at the end of the day. We've got to communicate, we've got to get messages across. Some messages are really, really nice, some messages aren't so nice, but how we do it is within our control. At the end of the day, if you've missed a deadline, you've missed a deadline, and that's frustrating because someone else can't do their job. But we need to ensure that we don't have this snowball effect of sending a negative email, which is met by a negative email, which is met by another negative email, which then explodes. So what we need to look at is how we're communicating. So we've identified that at this point, we're going to communicate via email. We need to look at what is in that email. So you may have some key information within that email, but then you may then ask for a follow-up meeting, because actually the bulk of the email or the message will get lost if you're sending paragraphs and paragraphs. I am, you know, hold my hands up to this. I've sent many of emails that are very, very long, but I read something the other day and I thought it was really good. And it said, if you have to scroll down on an email, it's probably too much information for that person to digest without a phone call or without some other sort of communication method around it. So just bear that in mind. Yeah. So just think about, what are you actually trying to get? Actually, could you book a meeting and then actually the stuff in the email is what's discussed? Or can you just be a little bit more to the point in how you're kind of writing it? Okay. So also, you've got to remember that when you're looking at delivering any sort of news that is going to make somebody feel an emotion, so we talked about read your email, would you be happy to receive that yourself? Okay. If the answer is no, but you still need to send that message and you don't feel that you can change that message in any way, you can still send that message, but you can action some things pre-sending that message that may make receiving that message a little bit easier. So you could pick up the phone and say, Steve, look, I know you've absolutely went above and beyond and you were IV into 12 o'clock last night, but I've just looked at it and it's not there, mate. I've got it down in email. The email is a bit bullet pointy. It's a lot to take in. Could you have a read of it? Give me a call back and we can sort this out together.
I'd be like, you're having a laugh, aren't you?
Bloody hell, Steve, sort yourself out here.
Come on, 12 o'clock.
But, you know, receiving an email in that way is so much better than, you know, Steve being up to 12 o'clock last night and then probably waking up at 6 o'clock this morning because he's so stressed about it. and then logging on at 9 o'clock and finding an email from Lisa where she's just ripping apart the last 12 hours that he's just done. And did I mean to do that? Absolutely not. But that is how it's being portrayed, and that's how it's going to be taken. So it's about just taking them steps to kind of, I guess, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but limitation, limit the damage that a bad, not a bad email, but that not a positive message could kind of give, and that's what we can do to help. Yeah. Sorry, if you can't hear me, you can leave it at echo now. That's weird, isn't it? Can anyone else hear that echo? Hello?
Yeah, there's like 3 of you.
Oh, it's gone now. It's gone now. So whoever somebody just done it, it's gone now. Somebody must have like a tap in here listening to us. Yeah. Okay, another really, really good one is subject lines. And again, I know this sounds really, really, really simple, but good use of subject lines will allow somebody who may be in a stress situation. So Emma, yesterday, today, 52, 53, however many new learners, if she has a good, if her colleagues are using good use of subject lines, she doesn't have to open emails apart from the ones that are very, very important and the ones she needs to action right away. So having attention to detail for your subject lines not only helps you, because it ensures that your email is concise and to the point, but it also helps your colleagues manage their inbox. So it will allow them to do things in an order that helps you out. So, you know, adding things in like, you know, requires response by end of day. If there's a problem, please pick up the phone. Little bits like that will allow them to prioritize. If you leave a subject blank, a person has to go in, has to read that, go into the email and digest it. They might not just do that. So you've got to give yourselves the best chance. So make sure that when you're sending an email, you're giving some time to think about what am I putting in the subject line. I won't lie, I don't do that very often, and I don't do that very well. And that's definitely something that I feel like I can work on. But I think that's a real easy one. You know, we're talking 30 seconds there to make something easier for yourself and others. So I don't know if anyone has any information or wanted to share anything on that, but for me, I think that's something we can input very, very quickly and very, very easily. So I really do hope that we can start to see that kind of coming through in the next kind of few days or so. I've got a little bit of an example of one, and this is something that I've never heard of. So again, something that I've learned whilst I've been putting this together is if you've just got to get a message across and you can't get an instant message, or you've only got access to email and you want to send an instant message like kind of message to someone, you can do that in the subject line, and you can add EOM at the end so that person knows that is it. So they can read that very quickly. It's not cluttering up their inbox. They can file it and they can action it. They can drag it even into their straight into their calendar, and it will go in there straight away. So if you've got just a very small message to reply to someone, or it could even be a thank you. It could be that you're just acknowledging their email, you're replying to them. It could be thanks, acknowledged, end of message, and that's it. And we don't have to kind of then go into opening messages and kind of reading and clogging up people's headspaces. Okay, so talking about being clear and brief. So obviously there's level. Oh, I've just asked.
It's really ironic, clear and brief with the most writing on one sheet.
What?
Really ironic, clear and brief with loads of writing on the form.
Yeah, I'm sure actually just have I also don't know. 1 second, I just okay. Hopefully you can see that all okay. So keep a messages clear and brief. So emails need to be clear, brief, and concise. And you need to keep your sentences short. And if you look at these 2 examples on the screen, it's portraying exactly the same information, but one is much easier to digest than the other. So you can see that just by structuring your emails in a correct way can get your communication out clearer, but also you're more likely to receive a response in the way that you need it and get the answers to the questions that you need. Because if you read the first one, you may feel they may miss some bits out. So like that bit around how the tone fit could be a bit more formal, that could be missed because they might scan it. So just making things a little bit easier for people to read and a little bit less clunky, I guess, can help you make sure that your emails are to the point, but also help the reader get what they need in terms of being able to scan down the email and pick out some key points. And I think what's really, really important as well, and I see this, I think sometimes we do this very well and sometimes we don't, but often people think, I don't want to bombard Lisa with 10 emails. What I'm going to do is send one big email with everything in it. And I really do get that thought process. But actually, for a lot of people, digesting and dissecting someone else's information on an email just leads to gaps, and there can be key information can be missed. So I think there is times where you can condense emails together, but if there's specific pieces of information that you need, it may actually be more beneficial. And again, some people agree and disagree with that, but I feel that it is sometimes more beneficial to send bite-sized information, because actually then they can reply in bite-sized information as well. So for example, if you were emailing about 7 different learners, but actually then 7 different learners had different funders and therefore had different deadlines, if you sent the 3 learners that had the shortest deadline in the first email and said, look, I really need these by end of play today, and then you kind of navigated the other learners through different deadlines, that will really allow you to close off them jobs quicker. I don't know about you, maybe this is a personal thing, but if I feel like I've got a really, really big job to do, I'll often push it and I'll do the smaller jobs. So by dissecting them into smaller jobs, you're kind of just helping them prioritize in the order that what you have to remember that you want them to prioritize it in, because they're not just doing things for you, they're also doing things for other people. So the easier you can make it for them to reply and do your job, quite naturally as humans we're going to do them jobs first, so you can kind of have that effect on someone quite like, it's quite, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it's like psychological. You're doing it without them kind of knowing. And so if you can do that, it helps you out. You might feel like it's taking you a bit more time, but actually I've found that if I ask for bite-sized information, I get it back much quicker than large pieces of information. I hope that makes sense. Probably the most unclear and brief explanation of a clear and brief email, but we'll get there, right? Be polite. This is a really, really big one for me. It really, really does sit with me as one of my priorities when I communicate via email. I always try to be polite, because there's nothing that can happen if you send an email that is not polite. The only thing that can happen to that is a snowball, and either what will happen is it will blow up, or someone will be the bigger person and not rise to it. So if we're always just being polite, just like you would do, you would not be rude to someone face to face. You would not walk up to someone and say, can you send me a report, without saying, hi, how are you doing? If you met them face to face, you just wouldn't do it. So just don't do it in emails. Just think about, has that person had a rubbish day? Could you be the person who sends the email that makes them feel respected, makes them feel happy, makes them feel like they're doing a great job, and pull them out of the hole that the email from someone else who's made them feel stressed and depressed Could you be the one that pulls them out of that? And I think if we all do that, then nobody should be receiving any sort of emails that are kind of perceived as rude or kind of negative. And I think it's really key for me to point out here is I don't mean that you cannot email somebody and ask for things and need things. You just do it in a certain way. So you know how you're looking at that. And again, it's all about, I guess, just not bringing emotion into your emails. There's no place for emotion within emails. It needs to portray what you need. It needs to be clear, it needs to be concise, and it needs to be polite. It's very, very simple. If someone replies to your email with 3 question marks, I would probably just delete it. Yeah, just read what people want, read them as a person, and get what you want from them by being polite to them. It's very, very simple. Okay, check your tone. This one's a little bit difficult because I always think that tone is something that portrays face to face, but it comes through an email. And I think it comes through so much more because actually you remove every other behavior or emotion. So you're removing body language, you're removing your tone of voice, and you're removing facial expressions, hand expressions, you're removing the chit chat, the how you doing, how was the weekend, you're removing all of that and you're just sending words. And you know, there's 2 examples here. Again, a massive bugbear. People that don't say hi. Say hi. Why not? You wouldn't not say hi to somebody if you met them face to face. But you know, I can imagine that a lot of people, and I do it myself, I've sent an email exactly like that one on the left. Dan, I need that report by 5. What are you doing? I'm going to miss my deadline. Lisa. And he's probably thought, I'm trying, I'm getting there, I'm doing everything. Where actually, if I just said, Dan, I know you're up against it, the report you sent me in is just not quite there yet. I just need these little bits. Can you get it over to me, your newest version, before 5 p.m. because my deadline is then? Thank you. You're much more likely to respond to that in a positive way. And that probably took, what, 15 more seconds to think about and write? But it has such a big impact on other people. And it's really hard for me to say it because when I say these things to you now, I can guarantee that 90% or even 95% of you in this meeting are sitting there thinking, Lisa, bloody hell, I know all of these things. And I know all of these things too. But we have to actively force ourselves to continue to do it, because just because you've sent 100 emails that day doesn't mean that the person get your 101st email should get less of your energy. They should get what they deserve, which is the email on the right, not the email on the left. Okay, so I've said this previously, but it's really important. There is no place for emotion in emails. You should never send an email that says, I'm frustrated by, or I'm disappointed to see, or as per my last request, can you get this to me as soon as possible, as previously discussed. All that does is, I nearly said pee off, I'm not sure who's in the email. All that does is make people feel like they've already failed. 9 out of 10 times they already know they've missed that email. They already know they're up against it. So think about, what else could I send? Hi Lise, I know that you've missed the deadline. Is there anything I can do to help you? Give me a call. Let's relook at it. By the way, this is the most flexibility I can have around this is another 30 minutes. If you don't respond in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to drop you a call, see what's going on. Yeah? Because there is no one who is lazy. There is no one who is not doing something just for the sake of not doing it. A tutor may have been called into a safeguarding incident. A child parent may not have picked them up from after school club, so they've had to stay an extra half an hour, which means they didn't get to get home and do their PPA or send their register in. or we may have a new course that started, so the head office has had 700,000 phone calls, and Ellie and Ria and Dom and everyone else, all they've done is speak to new customers, and they've done none of their own work. No one is doing it on purpose, and we just need to have that thought in our head. So as soon as, because you can feel frustrated, you can feel disappointed, you can feel like you're getting nowhere, but writing that in the email is just going to make things worse. So can we pick up the phone? Can we just write it in a different way? Even if you feel like, oh my God, I'm being overly nice here, or this person is on their last leg with me, that is fine. That's a different conversation. That is a heightened, escalated conversation.
On that end.
Yeah, absolutely. So just think about what emotion is your email portraying, and can you switch that to a positive emotion? And if you can, bloody brilliant. And if you can, pick up the phone before you send it. Simple, yeah? Key points. So I'm just going to kind of sum up everything. We're all spending lots of time on email, some more than others, okay? Tutors and if you're delivering on the activity side of the business, or if you're an operational manager, or if you're working on the head office and you're phone based, just because they have a laptop doesn't mean they're in front of it 9 to 5. They're not. Okay, some people spend more time in front of the computer than others. That does not mean they are there replying to emails. There's certain amounts of time in a day where people can reply to emails, and there's certain amounts of time in a day when they have to bloody do the work that you're asking them to do, that you're emailing them about. So we need to really think about, when we send an email, you're not going to get an immediate response. If you need an immediate response, you go back to your kind of decision tree. Is my decision to send an email one of my questions? I need an immediate response. It's probably not an email then. Okay, so you need to be constantly asking yourselves them questions. To write effective emails, you first need to look at what information do you need to receive to do your next job, because that's what it is, isn't it? Often you're emailing somebody to get information so you can do something for you. So think about what do you need, and then action the right thing. Make sure they're clear and to the point. Obviously, we talked about that a lot. Remember that it is a reflection of your professionalism. I can guarantee you, if somebody sends you an email, or you're constantly sending emails that are grumpy and angry, people will think you're a grumpy, angry person. That's what they will think. And I know that a lot of you are not that, okay? And try to imagine how others might interpret it. So be polite, always proofread before you hit send. And if there's a point, and I've done this many times, I think Dan, I've been working with Dan for nearly 9 years now, and I used to send him emails where literally the steam was coming off my fingers. I was so responsive to what I had received. I didn't digest it, and I responded with pure emotion, and it was so wrong, and it escalated. If you need to do that, and that is how you get it off your mind, that is fine. But don't click send. Click save to drafts. Go away, have a glass of water, have a conversation that's going to fill you up with the happy stuff, the feelings that you get when you get a good email, the appreciated. Do that. Come back, read the email, rewrite it, then send it, or pick up the phone. Because it's so important that we don't push our emotion onto other people when we are feeling not quite ourselves. Yeah, Dan, I think you wanted to come in. That's everything. Everything from me. So if you, yeah, absolutely.
Change over volume. Mute your
Yeah.
mic. Cool. So yeah, I just wanted to pick up on a couple of specific points that was covered off there. I appreciate we've only got 7 or 8 minutes left. one of the key points I want to just really hammer home here is there's a lot, I think immediately when you start talking about these things, your mind often jumps immediately to, well, what happens if that person's not doing what they should be doing? And I need to send them a bloody email to tell them they're not doing what they're meant to be doing, or I need this. There's 2 points I want to raise with it. First of all, if you are, and believe me, I have been on this end of the stick as well, if you are somebody who you are being chased for something, if you are being asked for something, the emphasis is also on you as a person to communicate proactively with the person who may be chasing you or may be expecting something for you. So we can cover a lot of this stuff off by actually, away from emails, having really an improved level of communication about that. So if I know that somebody is waiting on me for a great example at the minute, I know 100% the vice principal of Central Beds College is waiting for me to go back to her about a tender that we're doing together. And I know I was meant to do that this morning. Now, if I wait till tomorrow and don't send something to her, she will likely chase me. She's as blunt as a bulldog, and I will not get a very nice response. I'll be emailing her shortly just to let her know I haven't quite got there, but I will be doing it. And that's how to turn some of those sorts of situations around. And I think it's really important that as a group, we're kind of aware of that and we're proactive with that, just as we would be in anything else. And the second thing is, where we do have to, we are chasing somebody, a deadline has been missed, or we're starting to feel frustrated with a situation. It's important to denote that an email trail is not performance management, and we shouldn't fall into the trap of trying to performance manage someone through an email. And again, I will put my hands up to say it, I have 100% been guilty of this many times in the past. And a lot of what's been covered today, and a lot of what I've read over the last couple of days since Lisa shared a lot of this information with me, is stuff that I will look at my own, how I deal with things. But performance management is not done via email. We've got in place escalation processes, escalation policies, and performance management tools that can be used if somebody is not playing ball, if somebody is not actually doing what they need to be doing. They need to be used, and not an email to kind of cross the bridge, or to bring the two together. Where there is that situation, and you feel I need to chase, or I need to be very direct with somebody, applying some of the basics that we've gone through today around the politeness, around the tone, around the context of the email, around the subject matter, all of those things can still be there if you are even if you are chasing somebody, even if you are frustrated. You know, Steve's sitting there and he's frustrated that a tutor hasn't sent him through what they were meant to send through, or Adam and Laura are frustrated that we've got staff that are supposed to have submitted their plans that haven't. All of the basics of politeness, all of the basics of tone, all of the basics of composing the email should still be there. And actually, you've got a hell of a better chance of getting the response you need by having it. And you've got an even better chance of keeping Amy Bell happy if it gets to some form of HR dispute down the line. So maintaining that level of professionalism, maintaining that level of tone and goodwill in our email correspondence must stay and shouldn't be crossed over with performance management. So I just wanted to make those 2 points. I'll mute off again, Lisa.
Yeah. Cool. So, like we said, that was kind of a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of where I want to take things. You know, I really think that we've got some amazing people in this business, and I really want to have our email culture and our communication culture as something that we're proud of, rather than something that we all kind of talk about in the background, and some people are annoyed by it and some people get on with it and other people are really distressed by it. So this is me opening the door. I'm going to be calling a meeting. It will be a focus group meeting, so you can attend if you wish to attend. You do not have to attend, and that will be to look at what we've delivered today, and also get down on paper a draft version of our email policy, so that we can kind of roll that out towards the end of this month. So I will send an email to everyone who is in this meeting, and I'll put it at the end of the day so that you guys who are delivering, if you would like to attend, you can. But I just want you guys to think, and just also to feel that if you have sent an email, so if you're thinking today, oh my God, Lisa's talking about me, I send emails like that, I'm not. And if you're sitting there today and think, I have received an email like that, you're being listened to. We're listening. We're trying to change things. Change takes time. But this is not a thing, no one, you wouldn't be working for us if we thought that anyone would send anything to upset someone, make somebody feel stressed, depressed. You wouldn't be here. So you're here because you're the right people, and we're going to change it. And as simple as that. And it's one of them things that have probably dropped on the priority list because we're all so busy. But now I'm bringing it very much to the front of it. So I'll send that email out. Let me know if you want to get involved, or if you can't make the meeting but you still want to get involved, just call me and we can figure it out. And then hopefully, you know, we can continue to review, and this won't be the last CPD, and we can kind of change things around.
That's what will then divide the process for and the policy out.
Yeah, and then obviously following that focus group meeting, the policy will be created, it will be rolled out, it will be sent out via people HR, it will become part of everyone's induction process, and it will be something that we it'll be our Bible for what we go to. Cool. Thank you so much for your time today, because I appreciate that everyone is very, very busy, but it's an important subject and one that I'm very passionate about. So if anyone wants to speak to me about it, you got my number, you got my email, but just make sure your subject line's clear and it's clear and concise, or I'll just delete it, right? Cool, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you later.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.